Everybody, hope you're having a wonderful day. Some pretty interesting things to discuss in today's video, and something that I've alluded to actually in a lot of previous videos in regards to the RLCS roster changes. On the surface, they look very simple. This player is enticed by this organization or wants to go play with these people, and then goes over there and plays. But there's a lot more factors that go into that based upon contract negotiations, intent of the players, what they're trying to accomplish, whether it be monetary, sustainability, a potential to grow their own branding. A lot of factors that go into it. And then you still have to talk about, is the contract even possible? Is there a buyout? How much money can these players be afforded? A lot of factors. And for one player in particular that I've talked about a lot on this channel, happens to have all attention on him. Everybody is waiting on bated breath to see what this one player is going to do. And if you don't know who I'm talking about, it's the one and only Justin. For those unfamiliar, Justin came into the RLCS during Season 5, where was known as kind of the best player at the time. So much hype, attention, focus put on one individual because we saw him come in as a rookie, technically the year before that, in Season 4 of the Rival Series. Ended up playing for a team by the name of Out of Style and single-handedly carried that roster just like he was doing in Six Mans to victory. They promoted with no problem and immediately got scooped up by Energy, and you guys all know the goal and what happened in overtime against Dignitas, the World Championship in London, arguably the best event we've ever had. So a lot of focus around Justin does come with a lot of pressure, and the difficulty is for him to decide what he wants to do. Based upon the people I've talked to within the inner circle, Justin's kind of the puzzle piece. He's the one that everybody's waiting to find out what he does. To show you guys what Justin's dealing with, the domino effect that comes with it, and all the pressure that he's dealing with, I've put together a really horrible MS Paint type thing, and we're going to go step by step about the enticement, what it may look like, and who he ultimately, I think, should end up with. So we have our teams that are available for Justin. This is what they look like. This is kind of the results. So we're going to go counterclockwise, but first we have to start on the obvious one. Currently, he is on Energy. Squishy has left. They do have a third player they could just fill in. I personally feel Garrett and Justin do need to split. I think grass is definitely greener, and after playing together for what has now been 6 seasons, it's a really long time to play with one teammate, which is why this is such a big conversation, because everybody knows Justin's so great. So does he stick with Garrett and they find a new third? Obviously, we've seen conversations around Frosty. We've seen conversations around Aris. We've seen conversations around Mist recently tried out, JNAP, Chicago. There's a lot of different free agents, Nolly potentially, that all could go to this, but I ultimately feel that these two definitely need to split. I know it shows it looks like a smiley face. It's all but. I think it is ran its course and they've done everything. I think the Squishy iteration came in. That was their last hurrah as an iteration or as a trio or as a duo in this case for Garrett and Justin. I do not think this is on the table anymore. I don't think it's a good idea. I think it will stagnate his career. So what does that mean if he goes to Shopify Rebellion? Well, we actually just saw that. We actually got to see him play in the draw where they won the entire thing. Two-piece up-and-coming talent who has really proven himself as a identifiable name now that him and Chronic have split up. And Parth, who is a jack of all trades, a very talented player. And now that Memory has moved himself to the coaching role, an open spot is there and it's looked quite successful. Is it enough to go and win majors? That's a conversation for another time because EU looks so dominant at the current moment, but that's what these teams are building for. Which team not only is going to support me financially so I can do this full time and I feel comfortable in that, which those unfamiliar with Shopify, the namesake and the buying partner behind Rebellion, they're worth like $80 billion. So they're doing fine financially. I think they're okay. Based in Canada. The facilities were used recently by actually Noli and Jack when they were up there. When they were trying to get their visas before they went to Gen G. Like, Shopify's good. Shopify's plenty of money. So I think it's a really good opportunity, both financially. It's also a really good opportunity to go and make an impact. And I think he'll be able to play a play style that he feels comfortable with. So I think it's a pretty solid option. If we go over to Dignitas a little bit less on the certainty side, from what I've actually heard from scrims, Justin actually likes the different iterations that he's been practicing with on Dignitas. I think Evo, again, hasn't been surrounded by the right people. And while Dignitas did end up making a major at one point, I thought it was a little bit fluky. They still showed promise. Now, there has been some question marks around Evo, and I'm curious on how he's going to develop and what that's going to look like. But I don't think the trio that they had between, it was him, Drees, and I forget the third, was the solution that was going to lead to any sort of long-term success. But if you bring in more veteran talent, you know, I'm curious on what Justin would do for leadership on that. And if you pair him with another veteran, whether it be Mist, Chicago, whatever, like I think Evo, Chicago, Justin could do some damage. I think there is a lot of opportunities that could really lead to something on that roster, but I also don't know if it would be the most successful. We then check out M80. What does he look like there? This one is pretty interesting to me because this is kind of, from what I've seen from M80, a chance to just throw everything at it and see what sticks. Joria's, I think, is a really good talent still. Obviously, we haven't seen the 1.3 rating Joria's when he played with Dignitas back in Stockholm, but he no longer has school in his way. He's fully graduated and can commit to it full time. You've seen him on the grind. He's playing quite well in the 1v1 show matches and the salt mine that he just did. AJ, as we know, one of the better players from that Optic roster, still a bunch of talent there. Will it be a good fit for Justin, though? I personally don't think so. I think it's too much of the same. I don't think it would work out, so I feel that's off the table. LG. Again, Reddles and Magic Bear. What would that look like? I think playstyle-wise, what LG is going to suffer with is offensive firepower, and Justin would actually suit that quite well. Whether it'll play out the way that we think it will, whether it will diminish one player's efforts or the other, again, I think if you have Magic Bear, who is a little bit more defensive, maybe a chance to play a little bit more offensive now. Justin kind of jack of all trades, Reddles setting up, supporting, kind of being the facilitator. Potential there as well, but I do think it looks a little bit better, even though I think this roster would be stacked for talent. I think the play styles and the synergy, the chemistry that would come through, I think LG would probably be a better fit. Outside of that, we then look at the Dries-Percy duo that has been talked about in scrims. Justin also would add a lot of offense there. Percy continues to be a great midfield asset. I think he sets up. He has a good understanding of the game, but hasn't really been able to support himself with the talent around it ever since leaving that Alpine roster when he used to be with, I think it was Jordan and Magic Bear. I think Alpine Torrent was the original one. Dries, I have question marks on. I think he's still very talented. I think what he did for G2 when he filled in Rizzo was great. But I think it's also very telling that if Dries has been provided some of these opportunities, but still isn't getting the top picks or the attention that you're seeing for the Frosties, the Arses and stuff right now, maybe there's a reason why. And maybe he's maturing and that stuff is changing. But the same thing about Noli back in the day when Noli, super mechanical, a little bit of an ego, but because he's been released so many times, he's definitely humbled, he's grown up, he's matured. And that's bound to happen with some of these kids. So maybe Dries is different. I think there's a reason why Trey continues to stick around Percy and Dries as a duo. And I do think there is some potentials there. I'm curious on who they're going to end up with their third. Maybe Justin for some offense isn't a bad idea. You then look at the Space Station team, and it turns out a lot of these people use the same colors. But for Space Station, Hoxer and LJ, I think is a really solid duo. I think they do a lot of really good things, but I don't think they have right now that in-your-face carry potential, which I think Justin could do. If you just let Justin go loose and it's supported by the other two, Hoxer, I think, is a great jack of all trades, and LJ is a solid player as well. So SSG, also kind of enticing. And then there is my secret option free agent one that I think personally is probably the best, which I think this would be the best iteration based upon the opportunities that are out there. I think you have, as what we just saw with K-Corp, Noli, I'm going to keep it. Joseph is still one of the best facilitators, setup men out there. I think JNaps, if you go back and look at the World Championship performances and all the other previous, he doesn't really make mistakes. He doesn't really mess up. He's super consistent. He's super reliable in rotation and will be there to hit the shots that you need him to hit. And then you have Justin, who I think still has so much left to give. I think this could be a very viable option for what is possible out in the free agency. But if I had to guess, based upon the way things look and the way that things are playing out, my assumption the winner is going to be here. I think that roster looked really good. I think it's a lot of potential. Depending on what second they go with, that Dignitas team could also be solid. Outside of those, I think this is a winning number. I think there could be so much that happens when you have those three names together. Organizations will turn their heads. Organizations, especially with the results, will want to do it. There is some organizations that are in the industry right now that are paying close attention to RLCS. You even saw recent roster iterations or roster conversations, rumors about a T1 organization trying to come in and come back, whether it be TSM or otherwise. They are out there, but will they actually sign? Will they move forward? I've seen the TSMs and everything else come in and be like, yep, we definitely want to get back in, and then they don't. So My curiosity is whether those will stick or not. But I do know, like, if someone says, hey, Lawler, it's your job to get those guys signed, I can do it tomorrow. No issues. It'll happen. So I think there's a lot of talent and a lot of opportunity for Justin, depending on what he wants to go through. So all eyes are on Justin, but I'm curious on what you guys are thinking. Is it the Shopify route, or is it something completely off the mark that we haven't even considered? Again, I think Justin has all the options that he could ever want. He's in a very good position right now. I'm not sure on what his buyout is. I don't know where his contract is. Restricted free agent, if I had to assume. So there is some sort of buyout, but I'm not sure on how much it's going to be, because that can cause some complications. Either way, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I'm curious to see on what kind of crazy iterations. Maybe you guys should make your own free agent team. Let me know what it is. I'm curious to see on what you guys have. That's going to do it for me in this one. As always, if you like the content, like, subscribe, notifications. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.